Hi everyone, welcome to a Chandler's channel. I'm Tracy and I'm your host. And what I do on my channel is I provide readings from my First Nations guide, Whitehawk. Now today is a reading on a subject, and the subject I've decided to choose is the Boston bombings. Now normally I would do it on a different subject, but because this incident has just occurred 24 hours ago, I would like to provide a reading that may provide some insight and or healing messages to those affected. And I myself would like to send my own prayers and thoughts out to everyone and anyone who's been affected by this. God bless. And in fact, these incidences are a big reason that I took to YouTube to share the loving messages and healing messages that I have been receiving for years and years from my spirit guides, and in this case, Whitehawk. So without further ado, I'm going to go get Whitehawk and I'm going to see what he has to say to us regarding this. He says, indeed, devastation everywhere, he says, currently in the United States. What I feel most, he says, is the fear. I feel the fear in everybody that they cannot get up, that they cannot move forward. And how I, Tracy, feel that is kind of like the wobbliness in one's legs when you go weak in the knees, or you get pains in your legs, and that's how that comes through to me. He says, indeed, he says, it can take such pressure, such a measure on us, he says, that we become paralyzed, he says, in fear. He says, so much so that we can't get up. We can't move forward. We can't get on with our day-to-day. And so, my children, he says, this little one here, he says, has brought me to you to provide comfort, to provide solace, to provide messages of healings. But what I want to do, he says, is do more than that. I do want you to be comforted. I do want you to move forward in faith, he says. But I also want us, as a nation, to move forward from such incidences, he says, as this. And the only way, he says, that this can happen is through this, he says, through us, through our own personal power, through our own personal choices. So you say to me, well, what do you mean, Mr. Whitehawk? I don't quite understand what you're saying. He says, but you do. He says, every day we make choices. Every day. And that choice, he says, affects us all. That choice makes all the difference in the world, my children, he says. If you do not make a good choice, if you do not make a hearty choice, if you do not make a choice filled with conscientiousness, he says, then you have made a bad choice. You have to know, my children. And he says in this one here, he says, meaning you, Tracy, he says, is very worried. He says, because I can come on strong, he says. In fact, I will share with you that we did do a previous reading, he says, and she's having me make another one because she felt I came on too strong. And I apologize, he says, but my intention is only to help, he says, and perhaps she was right. So he says the next decision you make it a good one, he says. Be kind to your neighbor. Be kind to your dog. Be kind to yourself. That is what I mean, he says, when I say make good decisions, make good choices. Take it all in account for, he says. You know what a good choice is. You know what a good sound choice is. So make it, he says, and it will make all the difference in the world. Be blessed today, and he says, be blessed in the events of today. He says, know that the culprits are being dealt with, he says, and they have been found out. And that indeed the information, he says, will find its way out to you, and you will be aghast as to who and as to why. And it will make you go, maybe I should make better decisions, better choices in my life, he says. It will make you do that. And I hope so, he says. For it is we who can make all the difference in the world, he says. It starts with us, meaning like us, the person, me, the Tracy, and me, making that good decision. And Whitehawk says, yes, indeed. Make a decision out of kindness today. Be blessed, he says, little one on your path, little ones on your path here today, he says. For you have a long way to go still, he says. But I have faith, and I have trust in you through this one, Tracy, he says. That as a nation, we can come together, and we can make good decisions that will end this violence. But it starts with us. God bless, little ones. God bless. Well, that is our reading from Whitehawk regarding the Boston bombings. And I believe he's telling us to go out and make some good decisions, for indeed they do have a ripple effect, and to create the change we need in the world, well, we need to be that change, and I believe it starts with good decisions and kindness. So God bless everyone, and we'll see you back here again next week for another subjective reading on Chandler's channel. I'm Tracy.